how to adopt a healthy mindset when it comes to dating. So I'm going to call this segment a 7-step focus wheel to make dating fun. So let me guess. You would like to adopt a positive attitude and mindset towards meeting a new potential partner. Bonus points if you could also find a good number of quality candidates to kind of help you dip your toe into the dating world without a tremendous amount of pressure and without triggering all those old cynical stories of failure and or fears of falling down a red flag rabbit hole. But no matter how hard you try or how much good advice you get and take, things never seem to pan out the way that you want them to. Now, maybe you have no trouble attracting dates in the beginning, but then nothing ever manages to materialize or take off. Or maybe you finally manage to meet someone and you're excited about them and things seem to be going good for a while, but then around 3 to 4 months, they start to fizzle unexpectedly and all your worst fears are once again proven to be reality. Or maybe you just can't get past certain cyclical negative thoughts like, I'll never find the person that is looking for me because I look in all the wrong places. Or I always get attracted to the wrong person, and even if I meet the right person, they wouldn't recognize me because I'm too anxious, or I get too nervous, or I talk too much, or I talk too loud, or I'm just too intense, I'm just too everything. Or I worry that I'll really meet someone who I'm very interested in, but they're totally unimpressed with me, my body, my finances, my intelligence, my career. They're just not up to snuff. Or you might think, you know what, I'm tired of dealing with other people's drama. At this point, everybody is just so damaged, and it's a matter of choosing the lesser evil. Or I worry that dating apps are nothing but a swipe left auction block, and everyone out there is either unattractive, socially awkward, or only interested in sex and nothing intimate. I'll have to lower my standards in order to get any kind of connection. Or you might feel like my need for a relationship will compel me to settle when I'm probably better off alone, but I'm so terrified of being alone because I don't want to end up abandoned. So thoughts and beliefs like these tend to leave us feeling frustrated, helpless, hopeless, and cynical. And it might even sap our motivation because we're convinced that we're going to fail before we've even begun. And so if you have ever struggled with dating because you worry you're not reading the signals right, you attach yourself to partners too quickly, you think you have to like someone just because they like you, you struggle to sift through your own confusing feelings well enough to set comfortable boundaries, and or you beat yourself up for not being good enough or desirable enough to actually have fun in the dating scene, then this is a video segment for you, because we are going to tackle a 7-step focus wheel to help you deal with some of these fears and also make it fun. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Brianna McWilliam, and I am a licensed and board-certified creative arts therapist, author, and educator with more than 15 years in the field, helping adults struggling with insecure attachment go from self-doubting to self-sovereign so they can attract those soul-shaking, passionate partnerships that they want without having to talk in circles around their feelings for hours or even years on end with no tangible result. And I do this using a psycho-spiritual approach to creative arts interventions using the McWilliam method. Today, I'm going to be sharing a clip of a live stream event that took place inside my private Facebook groups, which people can access once they've purchased one of my online courses. If you're interested in finding out if you might have insecure attachment, check out the link in the caption of this video. You'll be able to take an easy 4-question quiz and find out your attachment style, plus a detailed explanation. Now, if you like what you see and hear, and you haven't yet, make sure that you like, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. I put up videos once or twice a week, and sometimes I will do occasional live streams through my YouTube channel, and I wouldn't want you to miss out. So, let's dive into it. Now, a dating relationship is like the preview to a long movie. So in a relatively short amount of time, you're trying to squeeze in clips of the most important plots and highlights so that you can hook the viewer into paying for and committing their time and attention to watching the whole thing. And in order to feel satisfied with the whole shebang, the preview has to convince you that it will be interesting, that you'll feel something, and at the end, after going through some ordeal, you will accomplish a sense of satisfaction. You will believe that your money, time, energy, and effort was well spent. So in other words, that movie has to make good on the promise of the premise, which in this context would be a committed relationship with me is going to enhance your quality of life. Now, we've all had that experience where we thought the preview was amazing, and then we walk out of the theater feeling like the trailer was better than the movie itself. There was a great premise, but it was not effectively carried out. Or sometimes we have the opposite experience when the preview really wasn't all that great, but somehow a friend roped you into going anyway, and you were pleasantly surprised. Maybe the movie bombed at the box office, but it's not because the story sucked, rather because the marketing failed. You want to land somewhere in between there. You want a kick-ass trailer that gives away just enough to let a person know that a deep sense of anticipation and excitement is available because there's more to come. And this involves a level of subtlety that lets your partner know that as the story unravels, there are plenty of happy and unexpected discoveries, while at the same time trusting the consistency of a character-driven narrative. So how do we hold faith in new good stories when a lot of old new releases are chock full of cheap CGI, bad acting, and plot-driven narratives with subpar reboots? Well, in this segment, I want to offer this focus wheel as a tool for what I call cognitive reframing, so that you can step into the dating world with a sense of confidence, excitement, playfulness, and personal power. Now, a focus wheel is an exercise through which we basically ask a series of questions that inevitably circle back around to the beginning as needed. And the point of this is to install more positive beliefs about your possibilities for love and to continue reframing the sometimes painful narratives that we write around our romantic entanglements. And so the focus wheels that I use are influenced and inspired by Abraham Hicks and Albert Ellis's Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, which is basically the original cognitive behavioral therapy. Now, I do have a few different approaches to focus wheels, but for today we're going to look at the 7-step focus wheel, and this is one that I teach you in my 101 courses on attachment. So the first one is to identify the fear. So when you're worried about dating and you're questioning your ability to do it well, particularly if you are someone with an anxious attachment style, what I call an open heart, typically the fear is, I'm going to get too attached too quickly. Now, interestingly, this is also often the fear of avoidantly attached individuals, what I call rolling stones, but it's usually a bit more subconscious. They have been practicing non-attachment for a while, so they're less likely to be so concerned initially. But remember, the practice of non-attachment originally stems from this same fear anyway. Now, the second thing is to realize what the fear is actually suggesting. So I don't have control over myself, and I'm not capable of meeting my own needs well enough that I won't become overly dependent on someone else to get them met. Okay. Now, the third step is to notice that there is a desire on the backside of a fear like this. So I can experience dating as fun, playful, and exploratory without getting too wrapped up in outcomes and worrying about where it's going, and without being emotionally closed off or inaccessible to my partners. There is a safe play space in between where it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Now, the fourth step is to create a new belief statement around that desire, one that would make it possible. And it's going to sound something like this. So I am fully capable of meeting my own needs, and I can expand and contract my energy as I please, while exercising discernment about whether or not I like and trust someone and how much I choose to emotionally invest over time. Now, this doesn't have to be a serious, painstaking process, but rather a fun and playful investigation of the divine spark that lives in everyone. And rather than turning every date into an interview for a life partner or erecting walls to the possibility of emotional intimacy, I can approach each interaction as an exciting opportunity to learn more about how I respond to what contrasts my dates provide for me. Contrasts that show me what is familiar and unfamiliar, comfortable and uncomfortable, wanted and unwanted. It is all wildly useful and entertaining information, even if at times the experience is sobering or disappointing, because that creates opportunities for me to see where I am still judging myself and others, and where I am still operating from a small world view and a scarcity mindset about love. And that only continues to support my expansion as well. And so I'm happy to know that there is absolutely no way that I can get this wrong. Now, the fifth step is to use proof from your real lived experience and even extrapolated from unrelated activities and events to buttress this new belief. And this is what I call a reframing bridge. Okay, so what in your life do you do so well that you have absolutely no question about your ability to perform in this area? So it might sound something like, I am good at ABC, which requires the skills, traits, and or ability to XYZ, right? And this could help me in dating and relationships because. So how can you extract the essence of what you know you're good at beyond a doubt, and then apply that essence of that skill, trait, or ability to how you show up in relationships? And I'd recommend you come up with at least 7 of these. Now, the sixth step is to now install those beliefs in a physical, embodied, emotional, affective way. And you do this through repetition and practice. And I like to use guided imagery and body activation to do that. And of course, this is when you start dating and you decide to assume the role of observer in your life. And that leads us to the 7th step, which is once you start to engage in that process, think of yourself as a treasure hunter. You're using a series of questions to guide your discoveries. So I'm going to give you a couple of questions here to help you with this. So the first question might be, what are the wanted aspects of the people I'm attracting in my life right now? So for example, this was a couple of years ago, but before, in my own dating life, I would meet people that were generous with their money. They were overall very kind, attentive. They appeared to listen to what I had to say. There was a sense of respect and appreciation, and they were good conversationalists. I also seemed to be able to meet people with whom I felt some mental and or sexual attraction. How might that be a mirror for me? Well, I interpret that to mean that I'm increasingly starting to value myself more. I'm regarding and honoring my own wisdom and knowledge. I'm in touch with my own vitality and my own sexuality. I'm also not holding back with respect to speaking my mind. I'm communicating in such a way that people are feeling more connected to me and they can sense my vitality and life force because they seem to be drawn to it. Okay, so what are the unwanted aspects of the people that I might be attracting or that are in my life right now that I might discerningly suspect could create increased contrast in my life? Well, at the time that I wrote this, there appeared to be a sense of emotional ambivalence and distance among the partners I was attracting. A lot of them worked too much, traveled a lot. They all seemed to have hesitancies about stepping into their own power, and they were constrained by external expectations, whether it was cultural, familial, or related to a workplace environment. So then the next question might be, well, how is that a mirror for whatever dialogue is going on within me? Well, to be honest, especially at that time, I worked too hard. I could be overly preoccupied with external expectations and rewards, and that made me largely unavailable in many concrete ways in terms of time, energy, and effort that I was willing to commit to someone else. I also harbored a lot of my own ambivalence, perhaps doubts about my capacity to be fully authentic and present in a relationship. I still had a lot of fears about getting hurt, which meant that I still distrusted my own resiliency. And I did feel like I was stepping into my own power more and more every day, but I still sometimes feared the envy of others, and I didn't want to be labeled as selfish or an exhibitionist. Okay, so each one of those points then was an area where I could then dive into myself and start to understand and work with my own energetic, or let's call it a vibrational set point for who and what I was attracting into my life. And so that is an arena in which I could understand where and how I could work with my own limitations when it came to dating. Now, let's say I decided to pick one of these points of contrast or friction that existed within me. Now what do I do with it? Well, I apply the same steps again, right? We're circling back. This is a focus wheel. So I identify the fear. Let's take the last one I mentioned. I'm fearful of the envy of others and I don't want to be labeled as selfish or an exhibitionist. Well, what does that fear suggest? that other people's opinions detract from my value and the value of what I have to offer the world, that just by doing and being who I am, I must be hurting someone else and perhaps incur their wrath. And so there's no circumstance in which it is actually permissible to just be me, right? So what is the desire on the backside of a fear like that? Well, I want it to be permissible to be me. I want to feel free to express myself without fear. So then we create a new belief statement around that. I am worthy and of value, and there's no one but me that can give me permission to express myself fully. And while not everyone will be able to embrace me as I am, I know that their inability to receive me is not about me, but rather a reflection of their own inability to accept themselves. And in this way, I can extend empathic understanding towards them while holding healthy boundaries and making discerning decisions about what art I choose to hang in my gallery of life. Not because their artwork is wrong or bad per se, but because it simply does not fit with the color scheme that I have consciously and intentionally created for myself. And like a gallery opening, I cannot predict who will show up and buy my paintings, but I can make a kick-ass guest list and have a greater expectation that it will attract more kick-ass people too. Right? So now we're back to number 5, proof from our real lived experience, extrapolated from even unrelated activities and events that makes this possible for you. Right? So this goes back to that template we spoke about where I have absolutely no doubt that I am good at ABC, which requires the skills, capacities, and abilities to XYZ. And that could help me in dating and relationships because, and then come up with 7 more of those, right? And then you install those beliefs, and as I said before, I do that with repetition, meditation, guided meditation, body activation, authentic movement, art making, things like that. And again, here we are back to the wheel. We've gone around the wheel again. Number 7, becoming a treasure hunter, going back out into the world and adopting these new beliefs and putting them into action. And it all starts all over again, right? So I hope that these series of questions have helped you and that you can understand them as sort of a foundational scaffolding and structure for how you can start to approach dating with a mindset that is more open and particularly a mindset with a treasure hunter. Because when you enter into the dating world, it's actually a wonderful exploratory process to start to learn more about you. And the more that you can engage with it on that level, the more your external environment is going to start to shift and come into greater alignment with what you're looking for, because you are now coming into greater alignment with yourself.